Hi there, it's Shauna K. Lister, founder of Memorable Essay. I'm smiling because I'm trying to set this up on Instagram at the same time. Just getting used to all of this tech. So hi there, thank you for joining. I'm Shauna K. Lister, the founder of Memorable Essay, as well as the creator of the application ACCELERATOR service for Residency Match. So today, if you're on Facebook, hi. If you're on Instagram, hi. I think this will be a lot of fun today. I'm eager to talk about this. So today we're going to be talking about 3 excuses that IMGs give for not getting support with their residency match application. And at the end, I'm actually going to be providing you with some links to individuals who have basically had experience with this in their residency match journey, so you can hear from them basically how their choice panned out in the end. All right. So this is really important. If you've been following me over the past couple of weeks, I've actually been talking a fair bit about just the odds that IMGs have of matching into residency versus AMGs, right? If you're walking this road, it's something that you're going to be personally familiar with because it's something that can change your whole life and change your future. But basically, as an IMG applying to the residency match, you have about a half and half chance, right? Compared to about 90% of American medical graduates. And so in terms of all the things that are super important in your application, you're going to have your MSPE letter, of course, your step 1 and step 2 CK scores. You're going to have, your letter of support, as well as your evaluation, your performance evaluation, as well as your letters of support or your letters of recommendation. Then we turn our attention to the application, right? So to that ERS application, to your personal statement, as well as to your CV. And there are 3 excuses that come up all the time. I'm not even going to label them whether they're like good or bad excuses. They're people's reasons for not getting support for their residency application journey. And so I am basically just going to share some of those reasons now and basically talk about a different way to look at those excuses or to look at those reasons. Okay, so the first one that I get from people is that I don't know if I should do an observership or if I should go ahead and get some support with my personal statement and my CV and with my application. So this year we're approaching match day, of course, and this year there are 3 clients who I work with who I remember distinctly because they were in this position having not matched the year before. So this was our first time working together. So they either did it on their own or worked with other individuals and found that they didn't match. And, we got on the phone and they're saying to me, I really don't know if I should put some energy and some attention into my application because I'm thinking of doing an observership instead, in terms of their thinking in investing in an observership so that they can get some US clinical experience instead. One of those persons got 9 interviews the year before. Someone else had gotten 2 with no match, right? Like, how does this even work? Well, one of those, I think the one who got, there was an IMG who got 10, an AMG who got 9, and another IMG who got 2, but didn't match. What I always say to people is that obviously none of us are inside the program directors' minds or inside the minds of those who are doing the selecting. But if you can manage, hi there, if you can manage, hi Fab, if you can manage to get an interview, you can definitely manage to match. So if you've been shortlisted for not even just 2, but 9 or 10 interviews, then you need to take a look at the application that you're presenting, as well as how you're continuing the conversation that application opens when you go to interview. You have been given ample chances to make an impression. And so chances are, hi there, Fab, greetings. Chances are that you actually need to step back and to put in a whole lot of work on your application so that you can figure out what the messaging is and what the branding is that's going into that application. So if you've been hanging around Memorable Essay for even like a minute, you will know that I spend so much time talking about the messaging and the branding that goes into an application, because it sets the tone for how people receive you. And it also sets the tone how they receive you on paper. And then it sets the tone for how they receive you when you go into an interview. So if you find that you're going into an interview having to do a lot of heavy lifting or having to try and like super convince people that you deserve to be there, you actually really need to take a step back and put the work in on your application. How much is an observership going to help you? I actually spent all of last week talking about that with a current client, having her be connected with other former clients who have done or who have not done observerships to get their feedback. There are some who swear that, it makes no difference. There are others who swear that it made all the difference in their match results. But the point of that is that I know individuals who have matched without doing an observership. I know individuals who have matched, having done an observership. But if you were to choose between putting yourself together well on paper, in your personal statement and in your CV versus doing an observership, I would always lean toward getting your messaging correct, because that is something that's going to stick with you for the duration of the application season. If you are getting 9 interviews, 2 interviews, 3 interviews, and you're not able to close one, it means that you need to go back and make sure that you've done everything that you possibly could with that application. And with the individuals who I'm talking about, who, I came across them because they didn't match, and then I would take a look at their application. There were always things that I saw that could be improved. There are always questions that I still had, having read those applications, that there definitely was room to fill in. So the link that I'm going to share in the end is going to be from other individuals who I've worked with who were reapplication candidates, like they were reapplicants to the match. And one in particular, I've done interviews with them, so I'm free to share. One is Dr. Bodking. You'll see his interview in the link that I share. Another one, Dr. Morgan. So Dr. Morgan was applying to the match for the 3rd time. Dr. Bodkin was applying for the 2nd time. When I saw Dr. Bodkin's application, he jokes about it in the interview that we have that I'll share, because he says, when you saw my application, you asked me, where is the rest? Because I did. I actually really and truly did not believe that that's what he had put together as his CV. And I remember telling him at the time that if this is what you submitted for your match application, don't even sweat the fact that you didn't match, because you didn't really apply. It was not as thorough as an application as it needed to be, like not even as you want it to be. It just wasn't at a level that it should have been at before being submitted to someone. The same thing with Dr. Morgan. He had interview prep. He talks about this in our interview from very many people, including a former program director, including from his friends who are lawyers and journalists. But he really wanted to dial in those responses and sharpen them up. And of course, in talking with him and some of the things that he had been told before, such as, if you have a poor step score, or if there's something in your application that you don't like, just, don't address it. I don't know. But we spoke about how to get him to address anything that would have been a potential red flag in his application, which I also do with other applicants, because people are going to talk about it anyway. So you might as well control the narrative and use that time, like use the space in your personal statement, use that time in the interview, not to make excuses, but to explain why your track record looks the way that it looks. So if you're not getting application support as an IMG because you're opting instead to do an observership, that's something that I would consider very carefully, and only do that if you feel as if your application is optimized to a place where there is nothing else that can be done to make it stand out. The second reason that people give is that I'm a really bad writer. Some people go as far as saying, I'm not even good at English, or I've never been good at English. It doesn't make sense for me to get support or to try and write something memorable, because that's just not going to happen. So there's some people who will immediately think of that as, well, that's a backwards argument. If you're really bad at something, that's when you get support. But I actually understand what people who say this, I understand exactly what they mean. So it's like, to you feel like you're really bad at writing. So why would you invest in support to quote unquote improve your writing or improve your application, right? It doesn't make sense. You're just going to try your best and let it be. because you feel like you won't actually get better in the process. My response to that is that you don't have to be an excellent writer to write something that is memorable. And the reason that this holds true, like regardless of where you are, is that just like with anything else, there are tools, right? So it's like saying, I'm so fat, I'm not going to go to the gym. It's like, that's not how it works. You meet somebody who will give you certain tools. They'll say, eat this or do this exercise, and something will change in your body. You know, you might not lose 100 pounds overnight, but something will change because somebody is there who they're giving you tools, they're giving you a system, they're also offering you support. So when you choose to get support for your residency match application, you need to be looking for someone to support you who can give you tools, who can give you a system, and who can be there to guide you. So that even without you personally being an excellent writer, or somebody who, you know, you feel like, oh, I can barely speak English, thank you, you're still able to put together something that's memorable. As a physician, you can think about this in terms of how you relate with your patients. Your patients are not doctors. They can diagnose and, you know, prescribe for themselves, but they can be companions in their care, right? They can be compliant. You can tell them and show them certain things, and they can use what you've shown them, use what you've taught them to go home basically and to take the best care of themselves possible. And so that's exactly the sort of system that you're looking for. So just remember that you don't necessarily need to be an excellent writer for your investment in application support to be worth it, because all you need is really a system, and you also need the tools. People also say to me, especially if I'm dealing with a reapplicant who I look at the quality of the application and it doesn't make any sense to me how they submitted that application. Like they'll say to me, oh, you know, this is a very costly process. I'm saving because I'm gonna have to fly to the interviews. I paid so much money to take the steps. I am not, I'm not looking to invest in that kind of support right now. Well, the whole process of applying to residency match can be an expensive process. For many people, it's an expensive process. For many people, becoming a doctor, period, is prohibitively expensive, and it's something that they don't bother with. On the other hand, it's also an investment that I feel like, as somebody who has gone through this process in another way, including like just applying to multiple programs and scholarships and graduate programs over the years, where you really want to be strategic about where you're making those investments in the road ahead. Because really, it's the whole process. It's not one thing. It's not just the application. And you know this, it's not just the money that you're spending on this application. It's the time that you've spent in med school, all of those special occasions that you've had to miss, all of the things that you've had to give up, all of the years in the future that you're actually looking at, spending even more time to specialize while your friends are off building houses and having large families, and you know how that feels. The whole thing is a gigantic investment. And for me, the question really comes down to, are you all in, and do you trust yourself to make those decisions about where to put your investment in terms of getting help for your process? So for instance, to me, when somebody is planning on saving for their interviews or for flying to their interviews, once they match, without having pulled out all the stops to make sure that they actually get interviews, it's something that I think you can reposition in your mind and just think about that. How do I instead first make sure that I give my all into getting the number of interviews that I want, into actually getting interviews? Then how do I make sure that for the duration of this entire match season, I'm able to put my best foot forward, right? Because it's not one part of becoming a doctor that's expensive, it's the whole process. And you already know this because you made that commitment. It's an investment in having a career that you really love and serving the people who you actually want to serve and having that level of fulfillment. So I wanted to talk about that today because I wanted to also talk about the application accelerator service that Memorable SA offers and who it's ideal for. So you'll be hearing me talking some more about this, but it's really for individuals who are committed to matching this year. sometimes I come across applicants who are like, yeah, I'm applying, but it didn't work out before, or I have plan B, I can go here or there, or I've actually thought of going to industry. That's not the sort of person who I most enjoy supporting, because I prefer to work with people who are gung-ho on, I am matching and I am matching this year. Even if there have been, 2 or 3 years before when you did not match, if this is the year that you're determined to match, this is the year that I want to meet you, right? So that's the person who the Application Accelerator service is created for. And what we're really doing with this service is taking you from having, hey there, hey Kia, nice to see you, thanks for stopping in. So what we're really doing with the Application Accelerator service is taking you from having a blank page or no idea what to write about, lots of ideas floating around in your mind, to really having an application that communicates to anyone who touches it what is unique about you. Again, if you've been following Memorable Essay, that's something I talk about all the time. People need to be able to tell, having read your application, what is unique about you. What will they get from choosing you to join their program that they won't get from choosing someone else to join their program? We're doing work on your personal statement as well as on that entire ERAS application, on the CV component of it as well, so that you can know and you can feel assured that you've put everything into your application. So what are these excuses, and why instead should you open your mind to think about something else? An observership is not one of the top 5 things that program directors consider when making a selection decision. We know that because there's official NRMP data that talks about that. Also, being a bad writer is a bad reason to not get support, because once you have the systems and once you have the tools, which you do get inside of the Application Accelerator, like it is designed completely around a step-by-step system where I can hold your hand, and of course you're doing, all of your writing by yourself, but I'm holding your hand and I'm guiding you and I'm introducing you to these tools that you will use for your residency application, for your fellowship application, if you decide to go that way, if you decide to become a hospitalist or something. You also use those tools when you put yourself together in a cover letter. I am giving you this step-by-step process, as well as the tools to show you really how to put yourself together on paper and how to sell yourself, how to make people understand the importance of all of the things that you've done. And the third thing is, this is so expensive. This process is costing me so much. The endeavor to become a medical doctor is quite an undertaking in terms of the investment of your time as well as of your resources. And so you just have to be prudent about where you put those resources. So I'll be sharing some links where you can hear some more from individuals who have been through different versions of the Application Accelerator, because it's always something that I am improving and trying to make. I get a lot of feedback from individuals who I work with, and I'm always trying to sharpen it and to make it better. So of course, this year's version is going to be based on the feedback from different individuals over the course of 7 years. It's a one-on-one service. We'll be working on your personal statement as well as on your CV, just making sure that anybody who touches them is very clear on the value that you would add to their residency program and why they should choose you. And so if none of those excuses that I mentioned pertain to you and you're thinking of getting support with your application, I would love to meet you. I'm going to drop a link by these videos. If you're on Instagram, the link is in the Instagram bio, but I'm going to share the link that you can use to book so we can have a conversation and talk about your application and how you can get it started early and done now. All right, so take care, and I will be back next Tuesday to talk more to IMGs who are applying to Residency Match. Thank you for tuning in and for being patient as I figure out all this tech stuff, which, it's about to become an expertise the longer I do it. All right, so take care and have a great rest of the week, and all the best for people who are working on other aspects of their application, like if you're studying for your steps right now. All the best to you, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.